Alright, what's up everyone? Welcome to another live session. Today is November 5th and we still don't know who's winning the presidency, but you can see everything about the dollar index is coming into fruition. From this up move when it looked like Trump was winning, from the sell-off when Biden was looking like he was going to win. Yesterday we said that Biden is favored and USD will go lower, and of course this thing has melted to our original low of 92.71. So these are all things that are pretty easy to predict, especially when you know the policies behind each candidate. And we're going to go over some articles, a few articles actually, just to kind of understand all the fundamentals, not only for the dollar, but also for the pound and other key currencies as well. So Daily Effects did a really nice article. Basically, the U.S. election results with a Democratic Party candidate, Joe Biden, likely to be the next U.S. president, but the Republicans expected to maintain control of the Senate, is arguably the best possible result for the markets. Currently, that's what it's looking like. I'll show you the election as of right now. And then it's a Goldilocks scenario, not too hot, not too cold, and it has already lifted stocks, weakened the U.S. dollar, and these trends will persist for a while. Now, if you look at, for example, this right here, Japanese yen forecast USD yen approaches multi-year significant level. USD weaker on likely Biden presidency. So again, that backs our belief that if Biden wins, the dollar will become weaker. Here you have a breakdown of it, and USD yen could go to these lows right here, which is a possibility we discussed. So we'll pull up that chart as well. Bank of England, we had earlier in the day the monetary policy. They're keeping the rates the same, but they're wrapping up quantitative easing by 150 billion, and therefore the pound dollar is going up. Again, the weaker dollar is letting these moves occur. And again, you have this another article: U.S. dollar may rebound as election polls narrow in key states. What next? If you look at how tight the election is, you'll see what we mean by this article. So these are some of the topics we'll be discussing. So if you look at the current breakdown, 264 is what Biden's at. He needs 6 more. The first one to 270 is going to win. Obviously, Biden, since he's 6 away, he has a good chance of doing that. And not only that, Biden is leading Nevada, which so happens to have 6 electoral votes, right? The lead is of 0.06. They still have 25% of the votes to count for. So even if, Biden wins this, but Trump wins every other state, such as North Carolina, Georgia, Pennsylvania, it will still be a Biden victory. The final tally will be, I think, 270 versus 268. So if Trump loses by 2 electoral votes, that will be an eye-opener, because coming into this election, a lot of people thought it was going to be a landslide win for Biden because of, all of the factors that went terribly wrong this year. We all know, the major factors, but that's pretty much the breakdown right now. You can see North Carolina, Trump has a great lead with almost all the votes counted. Same thing with Pennsylvania. Obviously, Florida has been decided. Iowa has been decided, but it's mainly this Nevada one. If Nevada gives a victory to Biden, it is done. It is over, regardless of what happens here. And that's the reason why you have the USD melting, because it's pretty unlikely that Trump can pull it off unless, they do a recount, or, these next 25% of votes favor Trump. And it's a small distance. It's only a distance of 8,200 votes, right? So there's only 8,200 votes that separate Biden and Trump in Nevada. And that could easily be made up by Trump, but at this point it seems highly doubtful, especially with every few hours they're finding new and new batches of ballots that weren't counted, and these batches of ballots tend to favor Biden. So that's just how it is. I don't know, if they'll go to the Supreme Court over this, but it's a mess. I mean, to have, no election result even 2 days after is a bit extreme, and it looks like we won't have a result until the end of the day, maybe until whenever Nevada posts its results. So for any hopeful that was looking forward to the election being done on November 3rd, that's a pipe dream right now. So that is that. And then if you look at the dollar index, it's completely mirroring what we've talked about since last Friday, where a Biden win will lead to a weaker dollar. Depending on what the volatility and uncertainty is, the stocks may go higher or lower. We know gold will continue going higher and all that jazz. So let's go over some of the pairs. We're going to go over Euro, Aussie, Pound, because we have the monetary policy, and then gold, and then we'll kind of shift our focus from there. So let's look at Euro. So yesterday for Euro, we discussed this possibility where if you were on the charts and you weren't paying attention to the polls, you were watching CNN, but you saw price all of a sudden clear this week's high like you did here, you've pretty much tells you that either Biden won or he's likely to win. And we literally had an identical candle as the one we drew up when price broke above, and then price went up to these highs. And you can watch yesterday's session, the full session. It's about 25 minutes. This is exactly what we predicted. It's pretty easy to understand that huge stimulus bill that the Democrats want to pass is going to tame the dollar, and therefore the majors like Euro will easily be able to take advantage. So price is going to try to break these highs, and if you're on the charts again later today and you see a move like this, then Biden has won, right? If we use this place as resistance and we sell off, then either Trump has won or Trump has made his electoral votes 264, and it makes it really close. So it's a nail biter, and based on all the the mail-in voting, which is pretty unique for this time around, a lot of the votes and ballots still have to be counted. So that's what's kind of prolonging the process and ultimately leading to the uncertainty, because Trump still has a fighting chance, especially since you can pretty much give him Georgia, North Carolina, Pennsylvania. Now it's just basically a battle of Nevada. There are also some talks that Arizona might be for play. Some people think that Arizona was prematurely given to Biden. I think the only news channel that really gave Arizona to Biden was Fox. CNN and the Associated Press haven't given that yet. So these two states you got to watch out for, more so Nevada. I think this will still go to Biden, but Nevada is really close. There's only a separation of 8,000 votes. Around 8,000 votes, and we still have 1/4 of the votes left to be counted. So it's a huge nail biter. I told you guys it's going to be a movie, and it's best to just sit on your hands and watch it unfold. And that's what we got. So you're going to see a lot of these majors make these moves. Right now, the euro is coming back a bit, which is understandable. We're coming to some nice resistance, some nice highs that has capped the euro for much of the year. And obviously, the Trump campaign is doing whatever it can to make this as close as possible. So we may have a pullback down to here, but if you're on the charts and you're just solely focusing on the charts and you see any of these moves, this means Biden, this means Trump, and then you'll know. So far from yesterday, this huge surge has favored that jump to 264 for Biden, right? Now, Aussie Dollar was another pair that we talked about with a very similar scenario, where if you see a candle that goes from here all the way up to here, that tells you Biden won. In this case, since the election's still going on, this just tells you that Biden is heavily favored, and that's just the main case, right? That's all we have. And so what we talked about was we can start targeting these highs up here, right? This significant high, and then this could be a nice midway point around these highs. So the dollar index is flying out of the sky. It is at some support right now. If you take a quick peek, right? It's at the support, this kind of low area. But if we start really reaching down to these lows down here, near 92, near 93, it's just going to look worse and worse for Trump, right? So Aussie dollar, that long is something we can take next week if we know who has finally won, and then we can take that long, right? So here is the potential idea we could probably look at. I doubt we will remain here. If anything, we'll probably go higher, but we can adjust our entry, accordingly. But this is a rough sketch of what we can have. 3.0 R2R, and yeah, it's going with the momentum. And usually, this type of momentum is all fundamental. And so we may just have a direct line drive all the way to the top with very small retraces, if any. So next up we have pound dollar. So the monetary policy, they kept their rates the same, which isn't too much of a surprise. But because of the new lockdowns, they are fueling another 150 million, 150 billion to support quantitative easing. So if I show you the fundamental schedule, right? So here we have it. The vote for it, and as well as the rate, 0.10%. All the same as the previous month, right? Nothing really has changed. And you can see this morning it's pushing up. And for pound, it's pretty much the same thing. If we do clear that high we made back in October, then we can start looking for longs up to maybe this high. If not this high, then definitely one of these highs up here, right? So they all look very similar. The setups for the majors. Again, when the dollar and the majors are nice and correlated, it makes trading a whole lot easier because the majors will look nice as well as the minors, and it's just a good time to trade. And if you remember, we started off 2020 with great trading conditions. Then obviously when the pandemic happened, things obviously deteriorated. So if we get some calmness in the market, some kind of consistency with maybe a new administration, we'll have a smooth time trading, right? So GU still has to clear a few barriers. For example, this is the high we made when it looked like Trump was going to win, this wick right here. So he still has to clear that barrier. And then finally, this last high we made in October. So there's still a few ways to go before we really look into going long for pound. But so far, so good, right? Next, we have gold. You can see gold. This basically tells you that it's looking like a Biden win, right? Originally, last Friday, we were looking to go short only if we get a daily or weekly closure below 1847. We got neither of those options, so we're just going to wait. Actually, we'll remove this idea for now. We'll wait if price does come back down. But this daily candle just shows you the momentum that is with the Biden administration right now. And if we do go long, I'd honestly want us to maybe clear these sets of highs right here, right? This 1980 level before we target that all-time high that we made back in August. So I can't say much, but I can say this: the dollar is looking to deteriorate, and the Biden administration is way more closer to winning than Trump. So based on that, maybe for the rest of the year, we might have to shift our bias to bearish. For me, long term, it's always been bullish regardless of who wins. The short term was bearish if Biden wins and bullish if Trump wins. But for now, I think it might just be bearish to end the year because they're going to pass a huge stimulus bill. I think Biden's campaign is going to make sure that we really lock things down, and that would just add more fuel to the fire. So we may see gold come back to this all-time high at 2071. We may even go back to 3,000, make a new high, all-time high at 3,000. It just depends on who wins and how strongly they stick to their promises, right? So if the Democrats literally don't pass a stimulus bill, then things can get interesting. But I don't think they'll do that, especially right after an election. So gold, I mean, this is a huge candle. I mean, if you just look at the daily candle and measure it, that'll just tell you how much volatility is in the markets. Almost 4,600 pips of movement in a day, and you think this is crazy. Wait till we have a winner. Once we have a winner, you'll see moves that are even higher. It'll be absolutely crazy. So it's just a long process, especially the Trump campaign wants to go to the DOJ and get investigations done. It's just a mess. So at this point, all we can do is speculate. You do not want to be on the wrong side of this volatility, and because of the uncertainties, you don't know if you're on the right or wrong side. So it's really the best thing to do is just sit on your hands. Today is Thursday. Tomorrow we have NFP. So really, all the advanced traders I know, none have really partaked in the market. Obviously, some have and they've had success, but for some traders, they want to minimize risk as much as possible, and I think that's fine as well, right? The worst thing that can happen right now is that you trade on a demo and your demo account blows up. That's fine, it's a demo account, but everything else, anything that has real money, definitely has a distinct feeling when you lose that real money, right? So, yeah, I'm surprised gold is just shooting up the way it is, especially because even yesterday when it looked like, Biden was still favored yesterday, but we really didn't jump up. But overnight, when Biden got those 264 electoral votes, things really started to surge to the upside. So, yeah, it's cleared these highs with no issue, no problem. Next up is probably these series of highs here, and then ultimately this key level of 1980. So be on the lookout for that. Again, everyone's glued to the CNN and polls. I like political, and they're just waiting. So that's what we can do. I'll go over BTC because BTC is shooting up, and we talked about it yesterday. And here is the setup that I described yesterday, and we're already in profit. Well, that's crazy. So yeah, here's a BTC trade idea. The reason why I gave this was because we approached that last high we made with much more conviction, and I said my target is that all-time high, which is around 20,000. So far we're at 15,000. So BTC, this idea that we gave yesterday, the only reason why we're this deep in profits is because we have an election, and we know that the dollar is set to go lower. BTC versus the dollar is set to go higher. It's that simple. So that's pretty crazy. I was expected to buy BTC this weekend. I'll be sure to get some BTC in because we could even make new highs to end off the year. Right, so that is that. Let me make sure there's no pair recommendations. I really doubt it since there's a whole election going on, but if there is, all right, perfect. So anything else, send it to me on Discord, and we'll all be just watching until we realize